Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to talk about conditional access policy, which is going to restrict token lifetime for high risk users, right? So what are those high risk users? High risk users could be any users within the organization, and most probably those users would be on the high role, which includes either on the leadership role, right? Maybe those are not technical people because they don't understand the technicality of these kind of situations or activities or sign-ins and credentials theft and all of that. And we wanted to protect their identities, their access levels, because they might have access on different systems, right? And those identities and access levels, we should protect them, right? And that is why we should have higher risk policy, as well as we should be able to restrict the token lifetime for those situations when and we wanted to enforce the re-authentication on such issues or such scenarios where there is an activity or when user tries to access a particular application or particular system, it is going to be either it is going into the or it is considered as a risk signing from particular location, right? And if it is going to considered as anonymous activity, then what should be the next step, right? So we wanted to protect the identity, as well as we wanted to make sure the user has to re-authenticate so that they are the legitimate users and they are the appropriate users, so that whatever the action is happening, that is been tracked. And also we have enforced the right set of policies so that we are going to make sure the users have appropriate access, right? So mitigate that, what we can do here is we can create a conditional access policy, and by creating conditional access policy, we would be enforcing this policy to all those high risk users, and then we would also add the token lifetime or a refresh token validity to a particular number of hours, and then we will reduce that one, right? So we wanted to reduce that period or the token lifetime, and then that period is going to be either for a particular given period, and then it is going to ask them to re-authenticate again, because if the token is lived long, that means there is a chance of that token can be theft, and then access is also being used for unwanted situations, right? So there are certain things, or there are prerequisites, we can say. In order to create that level of policy, we should have Entra ID P2 license, right? And it is also good and great if we have Entra ID identity protection enabled across the organization for user identities, then that's also going to help in situations, right? And I'm going to jump onto the demo and show you how we can create that policy from scratch, and then that policy can be deployed across the organization, right? So let's go ahead and jump onto the screen here, and I will show you how we can go ahead and do that. All right, so let me share the screen here. All right, so I'm logged into Entra portal here, and under the protection, we have conditional access. And from here, we should go to policies directly. And once we are here, we can go ahead and click create new policy. So either here we can give something similar name, or this is the name that I had created similar policy before, and I'm just showing you in the form of this video, right? So you can also understand what this policy is going to do. So I'm just going to give it some different or bit of different name, maybe kind of number here, or I'll just simply put some numbers 001. Okay. So this is the policy name, right? And then from users, we can scope either all users or selected specific group. So that's something which we can do here. And for now, I'm going to keep it all users, right? And then, but make sure we should have excluded our respective account. Maybe it could be break glass account if in case we don't want that to happen on that. And if we wanted to include that account, then we can add it here, or all accounts is going to be added. So it is not going to impact, or it is going to just enforce this policy on that account as well, right? On the target resources, I'm going to select all the cloud resources because we wanted to target each and every cloud application, and it should not be the case on it is only working for a specific application but not for any other systems, right? So there is nothing for exclusion. And networking, I'm not going to add or change anything here, but that's better, or it's good to add trusted network locations or all compliant network or any network and locations, right? So we can do that as well. And under the conditions, here we have options, which conditions we wanted to put in place, right? Even we can put on the client application side, which client applications we wanted to enforce. So I'll just select these two. Those are the modern authentication. And then on the risk, user risk or sign-in risk, we can put these two, right? And majorly high risk sign-ins and user risks are considered as highly risk users, but even we wanted to track down and take appropriate actions, we can do that on medium level as well, right? So this way we can put in place, right? So in the previous policy, I have only put sign-in risk, but we can go ahead and put this into user risk as well, right? And on the grants, I have enforced MFA here so that user is going to be enforced, and it is going to simply make sure user has to re-authenticate with multi-factor authentication, right? So that's going to be the another layer of management or another layer of security when user is authenticating, right? And the real magic is going to happen under the session policy here, because we wanted to shorten that session period, right? And that is why we wanted to make sure that session is going to be reduced. Maybe if the session time period is moving or is going to leave long hours, then there is a chance of that level of account or permission has or can be kept, and that account can be reused, repurposed for any unwanted situations. And that is why we have here option, which is sign in options or sign in frequency and persistent browser session. So from here, we need to select never persist. And from here, we can set the number of hours when we wanted to users should or users refresh token should expire and regenerate new token, so that, and it is also going to enforce users to sign into the system on every 3 hours or every given hours, right? So if we are putting 2 hours of time here, that means it is going to ask users to re-authenticate, right? And then we can make sure user has to re-log in and re-authenticate, and then that session is going to be active, and the token is also going to be refreshed, right? And there is less chance of high risk or high uh, compliance, not compliance, but the majority part of is to security, right? Because we don't want that token to be lived longer, and then token can be theft and reused for any another activities, right? So that is why we wanted to do this one. And even if we don't do this sign-in frequency, right, and then browser persistent session, so that's going to take default action, right? And then it is going to enforce users to re-authenticate again as per the default time period, and then it is going to protect that session, right? Now, this is one of the scenario for common scenario kind of. We can use it on the managed devices as well as unmanaged devices, right? So for that, we can enforce the same under here, under the conditions. I think let me save this change and then go back to conditions. And from here, device platform, we can add whichever platforms we wanted to enforce, either any of these one, right, or any device platform. And then we can also cover the filters or devices based on includes all the devices. Let's say device ownership equals to corporate. Then we wanted to enforce this or we wanted to exclude this. Or if we set it to personal, and because if the user is using personal device, that means they should definitely use or they should be prompted to re-authenticate very frequently than the managed device, right? Because we wanted to make sure personal devices are not managed and user identities are safe and secure, whatever the actions or whatever the applications, systems, and any data that they are using, accessing, working on it, right? So that should be something which we wanted to enforce. And this way we can protect that, right? And on the excluded side, we can exclude that particular, maybe we wanted to exclude corporate devices, but we wanted to include personal uh, company or personal devices majorly. Let's say we wanted to exclude corporate, right? And we can add another, or we can enforce another policy which is going to enforce the personal devices, right? So even we can put or condition here if device ownership, let's find it here. Goes to personal, right? Then this should impact on it or this should work on it. So wherever it is going to match any of these conditions, then it is going to exclude that, right? So this way we can make sure it is going to work and it is going to handle that as well on the device level, right? So yeah, this is the one of the way, and there are different ways, not only this one, but it totally depends how we wanted to leverage the policy as well as not only policy context, but also how we wanted to make sure users risk is identified and taken the appropriate actions beforehand so that users access authentications and everything is being managed appropriately, right? So yeah, that is all for this video. I wanted to show you and convey through this video so that you can learn something and do appropriate configurations, right? And this can be used for protecting the highly risk user accounts or users. And yeah, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.